digital arena, on the app, on your smartphone, on X, YouTube, and Facebook. The Sports Cast. Expect the unexpected.
The update presented by the Sportscast.
The Sportscast, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, 2025. If you haven't yet, please subscribe at all our channels, YouTube, Facebook, X, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. You can also listen to us on your smart speaker. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave a rating and review. You can do the same on Spotify. And visit our website, thesportscast.net. Also, follow us on X and Instagram at the Sportscast1, and check out our app, the Sportscast for iOS. Busy weekend. The Pacers beat the Cavs. We got the Warriors finishing off the Rockets, and join us all the way from Northeast Maine, Hal Phillips. Welcome back to the Sportscast.
My pleasure, Santi. Great to see you. And it was a busy weekend.
A busy weekend. How's the weather up there? It's raining over here right now.
It's raining. Well, it rained. Things have turned. It's definitely spring. And once again, I'm in Maine, which is very northeast, but I'm in southern Maine, which most Mainers consider part of Massachusetts. So we're good. We're good. It's finally spring, and golf season has started.
Whole lot of Patriot fans over there, I can imagine.
Tons of Patriot fans, but you know what? I'm not one of them anymore. I checked out.
Did you know that the Giants, there were a lot of Giant fans up there because the Patriots came later? Not sure if you know about that.
Yeah, that's really interesting. New England was Giants country
Right.
all, until 1960. And, the Giants were around for 40 years before that. So
Yeah.
football fans were Giants fans. And when the Patriots showed up, they were terrible, like literally terrible until about 1976. So for 16 years, I think there were more Giants fans in New England than Patriots fans, but that is not true anymore. Not after Tom Brady.
Exactly. Things have changed. Let's go to the top headlines last night. The Warriors were up 3-1 in their series. They came back and won it in Game 7 versus the Houston Rockets. They closed it out 103-89. There was, I believe, 3-point shots by Steph Curry last night. And Buddy Hield led the way with 33 points, including 22 at the half, on a scorching 12-15 from the field and 9-11 from long range, tied for the most threes ever in a Game 7, Al.
Fascinating game to watch and a really interesting series to watch. Not a pretty basketball display. It was quite ugly at times. I'll give the Warriors credit for figuring out a way to beat this younger, deeper, more talented team in many ways. But the one thing that the Rockets can't do is shoot. And Ime Udoka has, I think, a little bit of baggage now with regard to the offenses that his teams show us. The same thing was true of the Celtics when he was there in 2022. They went to the finals. They couldn't beat the Warriors. They just couldn't figure out how to get shots away. And this team is the same way. Interesting way to look at it. Buddy Hield obviously was the star last night. He had 22 in the first half. Amazing. And they ended up winning going away, although the Rockets did get within 8 or 10 in the fourth quarter, and I thought they would close better than they did. But the real interesting thing for me is the Rockets did nothing at the trade deadline. This is a very young team with tons of talent and draft picks. Jimmy Butler went to Golden State. If Jimmy Butler had gone to the Rockets, we're not having this conversation. He had 20 last night, but he's just a go-to scorer that they don't have. They really don't have even a 1A that Jimmy could be, the Robin to someone's Batman. He would be the number one option in a lot of ways. Him and Van Vliet and Jamal Green and Şengün, I bet they get this done, especially against the Warriors. Of course, the Warriors probably wouldn't be where they are if they didn't pick up Jimmy Butler. But I think they were a little stubborn in the trade front, not wanting to break up their young core, not wanting to bring in a free agent just yet. But it cost them. They're out.
Yeah, Amen Thompson had 24 points. Alperen Şengün, 21. Fred VanVleet had 17. The Warriors, Jimmy Butler had 20 points. Buddy Hield, 33. Draymond Green, 16. Steph Curry 22. As Steve Kerr said, on the road, you got to come in big. If not, it's over.
Look at that. Look at that. Well, they did everything but come in big physically. Look at that team they played. Draymond Green is the center on that team. He's 6'8" if he's lucky. And they played Pajemski 40 minutes. Wow. That is a very small team. They ended up, and the Rockets played Steven Adams and Şengün against them all through the second half, and it seemed to give them trouble. But, the Warriors just rebounded like madmen. So I give them all the credit for gutting it out. I mean, that was a really difficult physical test for the Warriors, who are old and small. So now they get Minnesota, and I think the Minnesota will squeeze them like a lemon. I don't see how they compete with that team trying to do what it is they did against the Rockets.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of youth and speed with Timberwolves, and Warriors are old. So we'll see what happens with Jimmy Butler. Playoff Jimmy could come in. We'll see. Let's go Pacers. They took a surprising win. I did not see this coming, but they are a force to be reckoned with. Tyrese Halliburton scored 22 points, dished out 13 assists, and added some key plays on the defensive end, including a steal, 3 blocks. Right. And he is the first player in Pacers history to put up that kind of production in the playoff game.
I have a question for you. What happened to Garland, their point guard, the Cavaliers? Is he hurt or something?
He's out injured, and I think they want him back for game 2.
Okay, because I tuned in late on a Sunday afternoon, and noticed that his backup was playing a ton, Ty Jerome, who's a good player, but they're clearly not the team. It's the same team without Garland. But let's talk about the Pacers. People forget that the Pacers played in the Eastern Conference Final last year. They're a good team. They're also a strange team and a difficult team to play. They play an incredible up-tempo, which you'd think would play right into the Cavaliers' hands, but they're also big and deep, and they just do what they do and dare you to stop them. When they make shots, they're really hard to beat, and the Celtics have had some really entertaining and fascinating games with them over the last couple of years because Miles Turner goes outside and hits a bunch of shots, and that draws your center out, and that opens everything up in the middle, and they go to the basket, they run, they defend, they go 10 deep. Very difficult team to play, and I was not surprised at all that they trashed the Bucks, who were in disarray, and I'm not surprised that they won a game or two against Cavaliers. I can't say I was expecting them to win this first game, but if Garland is not there, I don't know that the Cavs are a whole lot better than the Pacers are. And the one thing, too, that I noticed in this game, because I did watch most of the second half because I tuned in and they were losing by 12, was the Cavaliers look small. They played They played Mobley. They played Mobley and Jarrett Allen together only sparingly because you can't play those two big guys against such a quick, small team. But when they played one of them, either Mobley or Jarrett Allen, things did not go well. And one of the things that the Cavs do is play incredibly up-tempo offense and force the pace. Here's a team that loves that. So what do? They slow it down. Their point guard is not there, so Jerome is running the show, and they're playing more of a walk-it-up pace, and they didn't look comfortable at all. They're obviously in a bit of trouble here, and if they don't win this next game, they're in a lot of trouble. But the Pacers, everyone in the East already understands, very difficult team to play, and this is why.
Yeah, Cavs lose home court advantage. Cleveland actually had the lead for a little bit, 102-101, with 6 minutes and a half remaining in the fourth on a free throw from Strauss. But the Pacers ended the game on a 20-10 run. That is a offense I have not seen in a while. Started off by Halliburton's three-pointer and punctuated by Halliburton blocking on a Strauss shot, which he followed with a layup on the other end to make it a 10-point game with 2 points, 12 remaining. The Pacers had 6 players finish in double figures. 6. Including all 5 starters. Aaron Nesmith and Pascal Siakam each had 17. How do you think this team can beat the Cavs and go on to the next round?
Yeah, I do. I don't think they will, but I think they can. They played the perfect game, yesterday. So let's not get carried away. But we're having the same discussion that we had with regard to the Rockets in terms of size. Really interesting playoff. The playoffs are always 10 times more interesting than the NBA regular season. We can talk about that later because you want to talk about Melo joining the NBC team. But that's a big who cares at this point. But I'm loving the physicality of the playoffs just because what it really induces teams to go big. And that's what Houston did. They thought they could bully the Warriors on the boards, and they weren't able to do it. And I think that the Cavaliers aren't confident in their ability to bully anyone, even with the Twin Towers, because Mobley is such an agile and sort of all-court player and not, tremendous rebounder. What the Pacers do is they run and they board. And I think that Siakam is a real key to that. He's sort of I thought that was a great trade for them. No one really liked that guy, especially sort of in the NBA roto sort of, world.
He came from Toronto, right?
Huh?
He came from Toronto.
He did. He came and he does. I think he's sort of a modern four. He's a modern power forward. You would never say that about him 6 years ago when he came into the league. He was a greyhound who ran the floor. He's 6'8". He's 6'9". He can rebound and he can go outside and he can go to the basket. He can do a lot of things and he can run the floor. So he's sort of a stretch four who's not quite 6'10", but he is a really useful complement to Miles Turner. And then they just throw this incredible sort of combo of all-court guards at you, all of whom are 6'5". Halliburton and Mathurin is a great player, and Naismith is a wonderful defender. All these guys just come at you and never stop. And they have a bunch of subs that let them do it, for the full 48 minutes. Rick Carlisle is a good coach. And what a way to close after they might have, they've thrown it away now. They got back and took the lead. The Cavaliers, best team in the East, best record in basketball. I guess they're not better than Oklahoma. But anyway, 20-10 to finish the game. Ho hum. 1-0. Let's see if they can make it 2.
Let's make it 2. Tuesday night is game 2. Let's look into the bracket. OKC's been comfortable, rested, young, and the Denver Nuggets beat the Clippers this past weekend in Game 7, 4-3. What you think about this series, Nuggets and Clippers?
I thought it was the best series of the whole first round. And then let me just throw that caveat that the Clippers sort of rolled over in Game 7. They had a chance to win this series in Game 6. They couldn't do it at home, and then they go back to Denver and just after they played a good first half, they were down by 6 or 8, and then just couldn't do anything. So they hit a 3-pointer to cut the lead to 5, and the next thing you know, they're down 30. So fascinating series. I really thought the Clippers were with Kawhi Leonard playing the way he's playing, the second best team in the West through the first 4 games of the series, and each of the games each of the first 5 games that these two teams played in this first round, spectacular NBA playoff product. Fast, skilled, physical, and close. It was so good. And I'm bummed the Clippers lost because I sort of thought they had something. But the Nuggets, what an incredible story. They fire their NBA championship winning coach 10 games before the end of the season. You think they're left for dead? No. They've been amazing.
And keep in mind, the interim is up to be the permanent coach. I think he has to win the whole thing, I heard.
You mean, what do you mean he has to win the whole thing?
Well, the current coach of the Nuggets, he's an interim coach. So to have that permanent head coaching position, I think he has to win the whole thing.
If they go to the finals and lose, if they go to the Western Finals and lose a close series to Oklahoma, I bet they'll give him a chance.
I think so.
They have an interesting, they fired their GM too, Calvin Booth, and this guy has been incredible. The whole Denver organization is one of the best evaluators of talent in the NBA. They have, I think there's 30 guys in the NBA that they drafted, on their team and other teams because you can't keep them all. Beasley, who broke out this year with Detroit, finally was originally a Denver pick. That I could go on and on. I've written about it, but one of the things they didn't like about Malone was that he wasn't giving some of these young guys the time. They moved Christian Braun into the starting lineup. He's been pretty darn good, but this guy Strother didn't give him time. Malone just wouldn't play him, and Peyton Watson won't play him. Well, they're playing him now, and they were fresher. You could tell than the Clippers were at the end of that Game 7. The Clippers had nothing left, and this team did And just Jokic is just a marvel. He's so big and just never stops running. And Jamal Murray, who's had injuries and is no spring chicken, he was spectacular again in the last 3 games of this series. Took over. I think he had 43 or something like that in Game 6. What a great series between them and the Thunder. I think both the series out west are outstanding. All of the second round series across the NBA are super interesting and fun.
Yeah, the West. James Harden, I think his 4th team that he loses in a Game 7. So
what were his stats? He didn't play bad. I mean, the whole team rolled over. He had a good first half.
I will have to see the stats here, but I think he failed to perform for Game 7. But let me pull this.
Poor James. He always gets the short end. People are always picking on him. Yeah, what do we got there? Kawhi,
7
James
points.
Harden.
Well, that'll do it.
35 minutes, 5 rebounds, 13 assists, 7 points. Yeah, it ain't great, is it?
That you cannot win those in Denver. So
look at the whole team. I mean, Kawhi had 22. That's it. I mean, they just didn't get anything from Powell. And
Kobe Brown got 13.
Yeah. I mean, that was a weird team too. And I always thought, I thought from the very beginning that they were going to have a tough time against Denver just because they're small. When they play Kawhi Leonard, they get, maybe the best guy in the series back from injury, and he was spectacular for the most part. But when they're playing Zubats next to Kawhi and who else did they? Derek Jones, who's a defensive player, or Chris Dunn, who they started. Right. That's a small team. Zubats has been great, but who's going to rebound with him? Kawhi can do it, but geez, over the last 2 games of the series, the Nuggets just killed them on the boards. And I can't wait to see how they deal with Oklahoma City. They've had some good games with them this year, but I don't think they've beaten them. So we'll see how they respond. But it's sort of a wild card for the Thunder. I mean, they're used to playing the Nuggets for the last 2 years a certain way. Now they can. The coach that led them to the championship, and they've beaten a very good Clippers team. They've obviously scouted them and watched them, but there's got to be something else is going on here because they're playing great.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. That's a big flip of a coin. Timberwolves Warriors, we kind of discussed that already.
Can I just say one thing about the Timberwolves?
Yeah.
I love the Timberwolves. They were great. I like anyone who beats the Lakers that badly. But more generally, when they traded for Julius Randle, they traded Karl Anthony Towns to the Knicks, for Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo. I thought that was a great trade. And they started slowly. And everyone crapped on him and crapped on Randle and crapped on the trade. But I thought from the very beginning that Randle rounded out that team. It gave them a defensive guard that they did not have.
A boost.
In DiVincenzo, who can play in place of Mike. Oh, the guy who played with Greg Oden at Ohio State, Mike, blah, blah. Anyway, the point is that this is the team that they thought they were going to have when they traded for Randle. This guy could score. He's another option for Ant-Man to play off of. He plays a wing so that they can attack in a completely different way. And, he guarded LeBron all through that series and did a great job. I'm happy for them and him because no one thought this was working. And I'm like, Mike Conley,
the man.
There he is.
The veteran.
He is. He's actually pretty good, but he's much better for this team as a starter who, takes the team, plays 20 minutes because he's just not physically able anymore. And they're putting the ball in Ant-Man's hand more and more. And DiVincenzo's a great foil for that. And of course, Rudy Gobert had some amazing games in that series. And my fantasy team colleagues, my fantasy league colleagues were talking. They were like, "Why does everyone hate Rudy so much?" And it's a fair question. I'm not sure. Oop, we frozen? Power went out.